For years I have hated this golf club, and I've not had one in my bag for well over 10 years, and that is a 3-wood. And today we are talking about the Srixon ZXi, because I came out here yesterday, played off some different tees. I've joined a golf club, as you know, and now I'm playing a little bit more golf and out here filming. I've found that off different tees, driver is not the club. But I've always thought 3-wood is not the club. But for a hole like this, the second hole here at Lindrick, this puts me in position A. A nice draw there just around the corner, and that should be just creeping out onto the fairway. One thing it does do is it keeps me out of the trouble. It keeps me away from that bunker on the right, which is where my driver could potentially go if I leak one out there with a little bit of a slice, but also it keeps me short of the A57. Now, for people who've watched the channel for a while, you will know in recent weeks, in recent years, we've tested mini drivers. I've had a mini driver in and out of the bag, but a 3-wood, I've not even really reviewed many because it's a club that I never really used. But you'll have seen in recent weeks the mini drivers are certainly going maybe a little bit too far. You can see that the Titleist one from a couple of weeks ago was getting out there to nearly 300 yards, which for me is too close to a driver. And I always thought the 3-wood was too close to the driver, but we do have that little bit of a bigger head on the mini driver. We also have a little bit of extra length in the shaft, so 3-wood might be perfect. And after playing a little bit more here and getting into the summer season, back onto the summer tees here at Lindrick, I found that 3-wood is the club on quite a few holes that I didn't think. So you'll see when we get up here, this has put me in a fantastic position. This has put me just short of where that bunker would be, and it's given me a reasonable shot in to still have a good chance at getting a par, if not a birdie. And that right there is the trouble, and you can see just up here in the semi-rough, I have gone maybe just past it, but I've had to hit a little bit of a draw there to sneak past that bunker. If that was one leaked out to the right, that would probably be just down there and a little bit short, but you can see that leaves me in a good position here into the green on the second hole. Driver, if it carries a little bit further bounces there, you can see the cars flying past, and that's not what we want to hit. And this for me has been something of an eye-opener, because obviously I've had a 5-wood in my golf bag for well over 10 years, but a 5-wood there would be another 20 yards further back. So currently we have 113 to the flag, so quickly a misstruck 5-wood, I could potentially have at worst maybe 135 in there, but on a bad strike maybe over 150. And as soon as this gets into the wind, it starts to make it play a lot harder. A misstruck 3-wood is still going to go a little bit further, and I've certainly seen that with the forgiveness with this Srixon. But what 3-woods have you got, guys? What 3-woods do you want to see me test on the channel? Because so far we're off to a good start with this Srixon, but what have you tried and what have you bought? Because 3-wood, pitching wedge, pretty close. It's certainly something that could go in the bag. And could I be that person with 4 woods in the bag? A driver, 3-wood, 5-wood and 7-wood? Because all clubs that I've enjoyed, all clubs I like to have in the golf bag, but maybe for playing around here I could drop one of those. Maybe the 7-wood goes, it's not a club that I use very often. A 5-wood, when it starts to get even more fast and fiery and burnt out here with the warm weather in the UK, maybe a 5-wood off that tee would work. So this is where I've got to think now, playing a little bit more golf, playing here a little bit more, what's the perfect top end of that golf bag? And we can see as we come up here that has gone just past pin high. You can see greens are fantastic, being sprayed today by the new head greenkeeper, so welcome to Dan, to Lindrick. Going to do a fantastic job, I'm sure, but not a job that I would like. We know that head greenkeepers certainly get their fair share of flack, but can we knock that in? So just pitched over the bunker there, certainly got to kick forward off this downslope. But it's about putting yourself in play, and a lot of you might say, well, I got rid of my 3-wood, I got a mini driver, but you're thinking about potentially going back there, and you have to think about the holes at your golf club. Are there some when it gets to the summer that a good drive is punished because it's firm, it runs on a little bit, it runs into the rough, and you're making a relatively straightforward hole a little bit harder than it needs to be. And again, we'll take that down there, nicely down into a tap in, and that's made that hole pretty straightforwards. But you might notice, guys, if you do watch this channel and you're a regular viewer, a different putter. Because today, guys, we are out also testing the brand new PXG Bat Attack. So again, a 0 torque putter here, and you'll see that on the channel already. Now the 4th hole here at Lindrick is a par 5, and it's the first time yesterday that I played off these tees, and you'll see an incredibly narrow tee shot from here. But we can also see in the distance the fairway does run out around about 330 yards. So yes, by no means am I saying I can hit a driver carrying 330 yards. But the fairway kicks to the left and it sends it towards the out of the bounds. So 3-wood was the club for me yesterday. And if we talk a little bit about this Srixon, we do have the iFlex face, so we do have that variable thickness face pattern which does increase ball speed across the face. We do have the rebound frame which again transfers that energy a little bit quicker, just like the driver, and the driver was one of the longest drivers I've tested all year. But there's a few things with this fairway wood that you might be interested in. Because you see that ball flight right there. It's designed to get a nice high ball flight. It's got a low centre of gravity to again get that ball coming off fast, getting longer distances, longer carries, and that, although an incredibly long shot, is short of the trouble. If I grab a driver now and hit the same shot, because that was struck right out of the screws there, it'll be interesting to see the difference, but I'm going to have to take a different line. And this is where people might be reluctant, like myself. I've just thought, well, okay, I can either hit a 5-wood and be a long way short of being able to reach this par 5 into, or maybe I can try and manipulate the ball, try and play that little fade. We're starting to make the game a little bit harder. I'm going to have to try and fade this to keep this into play, so straight away I'm making the game a little bit harder for myself. And you'll see just like that there, it's leaked a little bit out to the right, and that could potentially be lost now. And this is where having the clubs that you need in your golf bag to lower your scores is essential, because you might hit a shot like that, you've tried to manipulate something, it could be a lost ball, and we're quickly 3 off the tee. And again, the reason I hated these clubs was just that the previous clubs that I've played at, a 3-wood wasn't beneficial. The driver was able to be hit pretty much everywhere, whether I was in the UK working at my first job at South Cave, at Cave Castle, or when I moved over to Spain to work at the Jason Floyd Golf Academy in Estepona. And then when I moved to the Middle East and worked at Sharjah Golf and Shooting Club, again, all these clubs, you could just hit driver everywhere. They was a little bit wider, they weren't as fiddly, unlike now at Lindrick. Certainly, of course, you have to think your way around and make sure you've got the right clubs for you. And I'm sure there's plenty of you out there thinking, well, that's the same as my golf club. Again, I played at one of my old golf clubs where I was first a member a couple of weeks ago at Sitwell Park. And some of those holes, you have to maybe hit an iron off the tee now, or a rescue, or the 7-wood got used a few times. It's not always a place where you use driver, and this is where making sure you've got a club for multiple holes at your golf club can help you, because you're not trying to manipulate something, you're not maybe losing a couple of golf balls every other round that's stopping you from getting your scores down. So as we come up here, you can see the 3-wood is in position A, I've just gone and collected my other one from in the middle of those bushes, because the line there is towards that bunker that you can't see off the tee. So again, I could make a good swing, a fantastic strike, and then get caught in that bunker where I'm hitting out from. From here now, we can certainly get to the green, or we can play the perfect layup to the top of that hill. Now this is where it still gives me options, because yes, I would be able to reach the green, but for some reason I forgot to bring my 5-wood. So I've got around about 225 yards to the green. So I could potentially get there, but we'll play to the top and still have a good chance and a good look at making a birdie. Nice and easy, top of the hill, and we've got a shot in. So a downhill approach to this 4th hole here, so let's see what that number is. We've put ourselves in position A. We've not made it exactly difficult. 3-wood in the fairway, 8 iron down to here, and we now have 106 playing 96 to that flag. So let's get one down there and see if we can hole out. So a little bit right of the flag, but that looks a good distance. Let's get down there. So another reasonable shot in here, but we've got another chance. And to be honest, that 3-wood has taken out the fear of obviously running out of room on 2 holes. It's made it easier for me even to hit an approach in, which is, after all we're trying to do. And the bat attack has holed one. Now you might be thinking you can't just put a 3-wood in your bag because of 2 golf holes, but I've calculated it's around about 5 tee shots where a 3-wood certainly could be the club that I use. So that's nearly 1/3 of your tee shots with that club. But would we just put it in there for 5 tee shots? Well, no, this does have to be a club for me that is going to be used more than just off the tee. And this is an example. Along par 4 here, potentially I could need a 3-wood in there. There's a couple of holes here at Lindrick, a couple of par 5s where this could be the club into the green. And this is where we need to be confident with hitting this off the ground. And we know that they have put that step crown in there. So into that carbon top, we do have that to help lower that centre of gravity. And this is where I believe it's not just for off the tee box, but it's also built for the fairway. So can we get this launching as high as that last tee shot? We're on a reasonable lie here. Can we get this nice and airborne? And the answer is yes. A high towering fade there, turning straight towards that flag, and that's what I want to see from that. If I need it out of the fairway, which might not be very often, we can do that and get that launching. So guys, after all these years, should I put a 3-wood into the bag, and what 3-woods should I get out here and test? What should I put through the paces here at Lindrick on those 5 tee shots that I need them for, and a couple of those shots out of the fairway? What have you bought this year? Let me know. I will try and get as many out here to test, and maybe should I maybe tinker around with a 3-wood or a 4-wood, because this is what a lot of people do ask. Should I go for the 4-wood, which is certainly making a big comeback at the moment, not only on tour but up and down driving ranges here in the UK. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button and we'll see you again very soon.